Hi, children. Good morning. Hope you are all fine and safe at home, isn't it? And one more thing, you all have done your tests well, and some of them has to take little more attempts to do it still better. Okay, now we'll move on to our subject. Today we are going to see a lesson from history, buildings, paintings, and books. So first of all, we are going to see the topic buildings. In that, first one is Iron Pillar. One of the Gupta kings, possibly Chandragupta of the Gupta dynasty, not the Maurya dynasty, set up an iron pillar in Delhi about 1500 years ago. The pillar stands about 23 feet tall, which is like 2.5 floors tall. It also goes 3 feet under the ground. It stands in the sun, wind, and rain for so many years, and it has still not rusted at all. Isn't that amazing? Because in our home, more than a month or whatever it is, the iron items gets rusted. But here, many years, the iron pillar is standing still without any rust in it. So that is the amazing thing. Technology of the past. What is the story of the iron pillar? Tell us. It tells us that the people of that time knew that much about metals. So, studying buildings of the past helps us understand the development of the people. Next, we are moving to the artistic work. A lot of temples and stupas were built during the Gupta period. A stupa is a Buddhist temple with a dome. The word stupa means a mound. Ashokan pillar, a stupa. Ashoka built a stupa in Sanchi in Madhya Pradesh 2500 years ago. Jataka tale stories are engraved on the stupa. Do you know where Amravati is? Yes, about 2000 years ago, a magnificent stupa with beautiful carvings was built at Amravati in Maharashtra. Caves were also carved out of rock with beautiful sculptures. Mahabalipuram is a town on the east coast of India. Hope you all would have went to Mahabalipuram, isn't it? Is it not amazing? Yes. Fine stone temples were built at Mahabalipuram too. Now moving on to building temples. Building temples was not a casual decision. A lot of things had to be organized. Where would the stone come from? Who would carve it smoothly? What would the layout be? Who would pay for construction? So all these questions arise for building a temple. Buildings of the past. Buildings of the past are known as monuments. Monuments give us a lot of information about many different things that happened in the past. Now, you think and discuss. What kind of information can we get from buildings of the past? Now, moving on to paintings and books. A lot of art was done by the people at various places in temples, on walls, and even in caves. In the Ajanta caves, where the Buddhist monk lived, you can see paintings done with plant and mineral colors. The paintings were done 1500 years ago, but the colors are still bright and fresh. Books. Lots of epics were written during that time period as well. What is an epic? An epic is a very long story. It has many characters and a complicated plot. Stories like Ramayana and Mahabharata were epics. Other epics were written too. What are these other epics? Silapadigaram was a Tamil epic composed by a poet named Ilango around 800 years ago. It is a story of a merchant and his wife and their revenge against the Pandya king of that time. Manimekalai was another Tamil epic composed by Satanar around 1400 years ago. It is a story of the daughter of the merchant of the epic Silapadigaram. Both these epics were lost for many years. About 100 years ago, the manuscripts were found and the epics were rediscovered. You must have heard about Mahabharata. It is a story of a war between two families for the kingdom of the Kurnos. That story is about 1500 years old. The Gita is another book which is a part of the Mahabharata. Gita in sense it is Bhagavad Gita. You must have heard about Ramayana. It is a story of a prince who was sent into exile and then his wife was kidnapped by another king. That story is even older than the Mahabharata. Now, moving on to the Puranas. Many Hindu religious stories were passed on orally from generation to generation for thousands of years. Lots of these stories were written down at this time. The Puranas were written this way. Puranas have stories about gods and goddesses like Vishnu, Durga, etc. The Puranas were written in simple language so that everybody could understand them. Even women and Shudras who were not allowed to hear the Vedas were allowed to hear the Puranas. Moving on to other stories. Ordinary people would write and recite stories and songs too. Some stories were pointed on temple, walls, caves, and on stupas too. Many stones from the Jataka tales are seen this way. Moving on to science. Aryabhatta was a mathematician and an astronomer. He wrote a book about how the earth rotates on its own axis and explained eclipses. Most of the world at that time thought that the earth was flat and the sun went around it. Aryabhatta wrote a book called Aryabhatyam. He also found out the formula to calculate the circumference of a circle. The formula is almost similar to the formula that we use today. Mathematics. Zero was invented around that time by the Indians too. The Arab traders who used to come to India then took the idea to Europe. Now the digits from 0 to 9 are known as Arabic numerals. So children, let's all correlate with the past with the present. All the subjects you learn, even from science related with social and science related with maths, everything. Thank you.